Hi friends, this question is from test series 11. Subject name is operating system and the topic name is CPU scheduling and it is of 2 marks. Let us see the question. Consider 6 process IDs 1 to 6 with burst times of 3, 1, 2, 8, 1, 6 time units respectively. The arrival times are 3, 4, 5, 1, 6, 2 time units respectively. Consider the shortest remaining time first, which is nothing but SRTF scheduling algorithm, and find the average waiting time. Option A 4 units, option B 4.16 units, option C 4.33 units, option D 3.5 units. Before going to solve this one, we have to know what is we are at note we are writing all those things which are given in this problem: process ID, arrival time, burst time. Here 6 processes are there which has process IDs as 1 to 6. So we are taking the process as P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6 and the arrival times are 3, 4, 5, 1, 6, 2 and the burst time is 3, 1, 2, 8, 1, 6. We know that burst time is nothing but the time required to a process to completion its process. Arrival time means the process which entered into the ready queue to execute its process. So if you see the Gantt chart for this one, if you see this arrival times, at the time of 0 to 1 there is no process. So we wrote this one as like this. If you consider at the time of 1, P4 is entering into the ready queue. So first one is P4 and the burst time for this one is 8. But at the time of 2, process P6 is entering into the ready queue. So the remaining burst time for process P4 is 7 and P6 entered into the queue. So P4, P6. So at the time of 3, if you see this one, at the time of 3, process P3 is entered into the ready queue. So the remaining burst time for this one is 5 and at the time of 3, process P1 will enter into the ready queue. If you consider this one, here at the time of 4, process P2 is entered into the ready queue. So the remaining burst time for process P1 is 2 and at the time of 4 process P2 will enter into the ready queue. So it will enter. At the time of 5, actually this has to be entered. P3 has to be executed. But the given algorithm is SRTF, which is nothing but shortest remaining time. We know that SRTF is nothing but shortest remaining time first, which has the shortest time. That process will execute first. If you see this process, the process which has remaining burst time, they will again enter into the ready queue. For this process, the ready queue sequence will be like this. But now, if you see the burst times of remaining processes, process P1 has less time to it has. So process P1 will execute here 6. At the time of 6, process P5 has to be executed, but P1 will again execute because it will enter again into the ready queue and it will execute. So process P1 is completed here. So now process P1 is done. Next one will be P5 because the burst time for the P5 is at the time of 6 it will enter into the ready queue. So if you see this ready queue, if you see the burst time of process P5, it is 1, so it has less burst time, so it will be completed. So process P5 1. So this also done. Next, if you see this one, remaining burst times are 1. Process P2 burst time here only it's completed now. So process P2 is done also. This one also done. If you see the remaining burst times, P3, P4, P6 are there. If you compare these burst times, P3 has less burst time, so it will be completed. If you see this one is done. If you see P4, P6 has less burst time. So P6 will execute. After that, P4 will execute. This is the Gantt chart for the given processes with the process IDs 1 to 6. So we have to calculate the average waiting time for this one. So before calculating the average waiting time, we have to know how to find out the waiting time. Waiting time is nothing but completion time minus arrival time minus burst time. Completion time is nothing but here at what time the process P5 is executed or process P1 is executed or P2 is executed. So we are representing those things as waiting list, waiting time for process P1, which is nothing but WT1, WT2, WT3, WT4, WT5, WT6. We calculated these values using this formula. The process P1 is completed its execution at 7. If you see process P2, it is completed at 5. Process P3 is 10. Process P4 is 22. Process P5 is 8. And process P6 is 15. So these are all the completion times for the respective processes, and we calculated the waiting times using completion time, arrival time which is given in the problem, and burst time which is given in the problem. So the waiting time for this processes are we got, and we have to find out the average waiting time, which is nothing but sum of all waiting times by the number of processes. So average waiting time is nothing but sum of all waiting processes. So 1 plus 0 plus 3 plus 13 plus 1 plus 7 by 6, which is nothing but 25 by 6, which gives the value as 4.16, which is nothing but option D. From this question, we got to know how to find out the average waiting time using SRTF algorithm, which are given, the arrival times and the burst times are given in the problem.